Trump supporters, you got to figure out what the line is. What is it that you guys are going to tell us that you actually fucking believe? Because right now, you guys look like fucking idiots by switching your position every time Donald Trump switches his position, right? So you guys told us that the tariffs that Donald Trump were going to impose on other countries were needed. Not that they were a negotiating ploy, that they were needed. And they were needed for two reasons. The two reasons that far right-wing conservative content creators have told us that the tariffs were needed were, one, revenue. That the tariffs were going to generate enough revenue that it was going to replace income tax, and that American citizens were no longer going to have to pay taxes on their incomes as a result of the amount of money that we were going to generate as a nation by imposing tariffs on the countries that we trade with. The second reason why we were told tariffs were needed, they were a necessity, not a negotiating tool. It was needed. It was a necessity to have tariffs in place, was because it would force some of those companies that are doing business in other countries, that are manufacturing their goods in other countries, to return to the United States and thus create more jobs. So the byproduct of creating tariffs would be a tremendous amount of inflow of revenue to the federal government, which would allow the federal government to thus abolish income tax and support itself solely off of revenue from tariffs. And the creation of more jobs here in the United States. More Americans would go to work and thus strengthen our economy, and no Americans would have to pay income tax because we were raking in all of these millions, billions of dollars on tariffs. Yet every time Donald Trump caves on tariffs, you guys tell us what a great deal it was. That he's the art of the deal. He's the greatest deal maker ever. He imposed tariffs on Europe. Europe turned around and imposed tariffs on us. They didn't back down. They didn't cave. They didn't say, okay, whatever you want, Mr. President. They said, all right, then we're going to slap tariffs on your products. And Trump caved. And he put a 90-day pause on tariffs with all these different countries and said, all right, well, we'll see what happens after 90 days. So do we need those tariffs from Europe, or do we not need those tariffs? Are they a necessity to generate enough revenue to do away with income tax and force companies to move back to this country, thus creating jobs in America? Or was it all just a negotiating ploy to get us what? I mean, because what did we get out of Europe? Same thing with Canada and Mexico. Same thing with what just happened in China, right? He just reduced the tariffs in China after some type of trade negotiation talks with China, but he won't give us the details. All he said is that both countries, China and the United States, have agreed to lower their tariffs back down to this level. Now, we still have a 30% tariff on Chinese goods, which means your iPhone, still going to be 30% more. Your computers, still going to be 30% more. Your t-shirts, anything that comes from China is still going to be 30% more. But we didn't get anything in exchange for this, or at least we haven't been told anything that we've been given. We haven't told that we got anything in return. All we were told was that we agreed to lower the tariffs and kind of put another pause in place. So which one is it? Do we need the tariffs in order to force companies to come back to the United States and create American jobs and generate enough revenue for the federal government in order to eliminate income tax? Or is it all just some big ploy to get countries to negotiate with us from a trade standpoint and apparently give us nothing?